So students, yesterday we have seen about this figure and studied about the figure. Then we have found that C of t is equal to 1 minus cos omega n of t. So whatever is a system that breaks into continuous oscillation for damping factor is equal to 0, then the mathematical expression is C of t is equal to 1 minus cos omega n of t. Then this figure is going to illustrate what are the curves for different value of damping factor, right from damping factor is equal to 0, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1, 1.1. Damping factor less than 0 up to 1, it is called underdamped system. Damping factor is equal to 1, it is called as critically damped. Damping factor greater than 1, it is overdamped system. So the curves for underdamped, critical damped and overdamped has been shown. Then from this figure what we can observe is, as damping factor is increased, the response becomes progressively less oscillatory till it becomes critically damped, which is just non-oscillatory for damping factor equal to 1 and becomes overdamped for damping factor greater than 1. So when you see the curves for damping factor equal to 0 up to 0.8 and 1, there are oscillatory response. But when you see the curve for damping factor equal to 1, it is just non-oscillatory. Just non-oscillatory. You can see it is just by a straight line, where you can see that also in the same. Okay. You can see for damping factor equal to 1, the curve is just non-oscillatory, and even when damping factor is greater than 1, then it is also non-oscillatory. Okay, then yesterday I told you for most of the control system the damping factor should be less than 1, that is underdamped system, except for robotic control system. Why? Because robotic control system cannot be allowed to have oscillatory response. Otherwise, whatever is the end effector, it would strike against the object that the robot is meant to manipulate. Okay, so they need to have non-oscillatory response. That is why damping factor should be greater than 1. Otherwise, what would happen? The object that the robot is meant to manipulate would strike that object. Okay, then it is suitable to have a damping factor of damping is equal to 1 in order to have a highest possible speed of response and yet non-oscillatory response for a control system. That is why robotic control system will be designed with a damping factor of damping is equal to 1. Then for damping factor equal to 1, it easily follows by inverse Laplace transform that you can see the equation C of t is equal to 1 minus e raised to minus omega n of t minus omega n t e raised to minus omega n t. So from this characteristic equation, roots are S1 and S2, and S1 is equal to S2 is equal to minus omega n, which are repeated real negative roots. So this is about this figure. We'll see the next figure. So we'll take this figure. This figure is going to show the pole locations for a second order system. So this figure shows the locus of a second order system which has been discussed above, with omega n held constant and damping factor is going to vary from 0 to infinity. So damping factor going to vary from 0 to infinity, omega n held constant. You can see from the figure, as damping increases, the poles are moving away from the imaginary axis. So you can see here the arrow has been shown for damping factor greater than 1. So as damping factor increases and there is one pole here, the poles move away from imaginary axis along a circular path of radius omega n. So as damping factor goes on increases, the poles move away from the imaginary axis along a circular path. The image, you can see a circular path showing the locus of radius omega n, meeting at the point centroid is equal to minus omega n. See, centroid is equal to minus omega n, and then separating and traveling along the real axis, one towards 0 and other towards infinity. So you can see these two poles for damping factor greater than 1. One pole has been shown here, and you can see one pole has been shown here. One pole has been shown here. So you can see one pole is moving towards the real axis towards 0 and the other towards infinity. So for damping factor greater than 0 and less than 1, poles are complex conjugate pair making an angle theta. So you can see this angle theta. Poles are making a complex conjugate pair making an angle theta is equal to cos inverse damping factor with the negative real axis. So this is about that figure. Next we'll see about time response specification. So yesterday I told you most of the control system are designed with damping factor less than 1. So they will provide a oscillatory step response. So they have been general designed with damping less than 1, which will provide a oscillatory step response if the input is step input, and we are going to apply the step input. Then when the systems are complex and high order, usually what they will have a pair of complex conjugate poles less than 1 which dominate over other poles. So this figure is going to show the time response of second and higher order control systems to a step input which is generally of damped oscillatory nature. You can see the curve damped oscillatory nature. You can see number of overshoots and undershoots till it reaches a steady state value of 1. So in this you can see the terminology peak overshoot MP, which is the first peak overshoot. Then this is undershoot, overshoot, number of peaks overshoot and undershoot. TD, TR, TP, TS. Then this range is going to show which are the area between two dashed lines shown is the allowable tolerance. Then you can see the curve is going to reach a steady state value of 1 after some time. So these all we are going to study the time response specification. So from this figure what we observe that the step response has a number of overshoots and undershoots with respect to final steady state value. Whatever are these overshoots and undershoots, I told you, overshoots and undershoots decay until they reach a final steady state value, and they decay exponentially. These overshoots and undershoots will go on decaying exponentially. Then what is peak overshoot? It is a first peak overshoot and is same as at the peak of complete peak response. It is a first overshoot. You can see here peak overshoot which has been shown MP. It is a first overshoot and it is overshoot of complete peak response, same. Then such type of response is characterized by the following performance indices. What are the indices? They are qualitatively related to 1. How fast the system moves to follow the input. Second, how oscillatory it is. Third, how long does it take to practically reach the final value. So this is regarding that. So we are going to define all those various terminologies related to time response specific. 1. Delay time. How much time is required for the response to reach 50% of the final value in first attempt is delay time. So you can see delay time TD. TD is a point at which the amplitude of the curve is 50%. The time at which it becomes 50%. So it is a time required for the response to reach 50% of the final value in first attempt. Rise time TR, it is a time required for the response to rise from 10% to 90% of the final value for overdamped system and 0 to 10% of the final value for underdamped system. So you can see rise time has been shown here. Rise time when it reaches from 0 to 100% for overdamped system. 10 to 90% from underdamped system is rise time TR, shown by TR here. You can see TR the time. Okay. Next, peak time TP. It is a time required for the response to reach the peak of time response or the peak overshoot. How much time it takes to reach the peak overshoot is called peak. You will see here TP. This is a peak overshoot. TP is till here. So how much time is required for the response to reach the peak of time response or peak overshoot? Peak overshoot MP. It indicates the normalized difference between time response peak and the steady output, and it is defined as peak percent overshoot is equal to C of TP minus C of infinity by C of infinity. So next we'll see. So in most of the control system except type 0, the steady state output for step input is the same as that of input. Fifth, settling time TS. It is a time required for the response to reach and stay within a specific tolerance band, which is usually 2% or 5% of its final value. So you can see settling time TS. How much time it requires to stay within that tolerance band. Okay. Response to reach and stay within a specific tolerance band of its final value, and the tolerance band will be usually 2% of 5. Steady state error, ESS it is denoted. It indicates the error between the actual output and desired output as t tends to infinity. So it is given by this equation. ESS is equal to limit t tends to infinity R of t minus C of t. So what we are observing is that by specifying delay time TD, rise time TR, peak overshoot MP, peak time TP, settling time TS and ESS, the steady state error, the shape of the unit step response is virtually fixed. Then these specifications, whatever, are mutually dependent and must be specified in a consistent manner. So as it is said, these various indices are not independent of each other, they are dependent of one another. So we'll stop and see in the next class.